Ladies and gentlemen, for a session sponsored by American Express Travel, please welcome President American Express Travel, Audrey Hendley, in discussion with SkiftX editorial strategist, Paul Brady.
Hi.
Hi, Paul.
How are you?
Good.
Are you excited to be here?
I'm thrilled to be here with all of you.
I'm thrilled to be here with all of them too. Listen, I don't think American Express is the kind of brand that needs a big introduction, but I think there's some heritage that you can tell us about that people might not know.
Everybody here is probably way too young to know this, but American Express has been in the travel industry for over 100 years. So if you will, I guess you would say it's kind of in our DNA. American Express Travel goes back a while, from exchanging currency in Ellis Island. And actually, American Express Travel had the last boat out from Europe in World War I. And on that boat was a very famous conductor who went on to conduct for the Metropolitan Opera, which is just down the street. It's kind of nice heritage. But we kind of bring that with us as we create the future of travel.
Right. Needless to say, since that boat came over, and we've changed the way we travel, right? And I think we've also seen a change in the way people plan travel. So as we talk today about kind of this customer journey, I'd love to start with sort of inspiration. Where are people finding the ideas?
People are overwhelmed. I think you'll all enjoy this statistic. 40% of customers believe that finding their perfect travel experience is harder than finding their significant other. It's a crazy thing. But people are overwhelmed by what's out there. And it's our job to bring expertise there to that whole decision, to the complex choices that customers have got to make.
Right, it used to be, you'd pick up a travel magazine or something like that. People are finding inspiration in new ways, and I'd love to ask, where you see people finding trip ideas or trip inspiration.
Well, obviously, apart from the obvious, social media is permeating our lives, but I guess there's a lot of brands. People are looking to brands, and actually Ed just talked about how the brand values pull through to all of the work we do, but actually, I saw Jenna Rubio is coming later, and Away is a good example of a brand that brings a lot of inspiration. We didn't always draw a lot of inspiration from the luggage we bring on our vacation, but Jen and her team have created that allure around luggage. It's kind of cool, it's not the cheapest, it's good quality, and it has a little bit of cachet around it. So I think brands are doing a good job of bringing inspiration to travel. Right,
and motivating us to get out there and see the world, right? Thinking about this customer journey, we've got our inspiration, now we're trying to get in that planning stage, make a decision. How are people doing that these days that they didn't in the past?
People are overwhelmed with what's going on. People have this paralysis of choice.
Right.
They're thinking about, how do I get out of this do loop that I'm in? 90% of people are thinking about, there's so much content out there, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And we're trying to bring technology into that purchase funnel to help customers to really think about, how do I move from this paralysis of choice right down to making an actual decision?
Yeah, we've talked before today about this idea of personalization. I think a lot of people are familiar with one-to-one marketing, but personalization is seen as actually a sort of customer service tool or a way to help consumers make decisions. And I see you've taken some inspiration from outside the travel sector that might apply here.
Yeah, well, we obviously are investing in a lot of personalization engines and AI and technology to help us. But, one company that I love, you may not be familiar with them because it's a women's clothing store, but it's a lot around trying to drive innovation in retail. And I like Stitch Fix because, when I started with them as a customer, they started with a long survey. We talked about the ups and downs of wardrobes and what you need to wear. And then they started to send me boxes of clothes. I would keep some of the clothes, I would send some back, and over time, the recommendations became more accurate.
Right.
So when you look at how their personalization engine was driving something quite complex and something that can be very expensive over time, it's interesting to see how personalization engines are applied in different ways, not just, obviously, the travel purchase. But people are stuck. I told you 90% of people have all this information. When you look here, 43% of people feel like they paid more than they should have for the vacation they just booked. That's not a really good feeling when you're buying something quite expensive. And in fact, when you talk to people further down in the purchase funnel, 20% of people are saying, I'll just bag it. There's too much information, I'm overwhelmed, I can't make that decision right now.
Right.
So for us, that's a perfect opportunity. We've got 5,000 people all over the world, 23 different countries, who speak 13 odd languages. And their job, whether it's in person with technology and our site or our online tools like Ask Amex, is to distill information to help customers make meaningful choices.
Right. It's kind of giving them this feeling of being taken care of, right? And there's this kind of element of personalized touch that really helps them book, right?
That's right. I call it high tech meets high touch.
Right.
So it's really using technology to take, if you excuse the expression, the robot out of the human, so that the technology can help our experts make better recommendations.
Right.
So how do we bring technology into those conversations, but also how do we use technology to make the bots sound more human? So it's really bringing high tech and high touch together to make a more seamless end-to-end experience for the customer.
Yeah. And I feel like you're doing that on the ground too. And I have, this example that one of my colleagues at Skift asked me. He's trying to get a reservation at this hot restaurant in LA. He said, I don't know how to really figure out how to get that table. It's an important anniversary. What should I do? And I said, well, you should go on Resi. And so as you think from, the booking process to then making it easier on the ground, I'd love to ask you a little bit about how you're tucking these sort of acquisitions and other tools into your overall offer.
You're right, we've made a lot of acquisitions in recent years. For us, it's about the end-to-end experience for the customer. So everything from the ideation, we talked about the ideation part of the decision, right through to when they leave, customers leave home. For whether it's Uber credits, the in-airport experience, the lounge experience, getting to the front of the line when you're boarding the plane, upgrades through the Fine Hotels and Resorts program, complimentary breakfasts and other things. So it's really being there as much or as little as customers want us to be when they're on the whole journey, right through to when they get home. Recently, I was talking to one of our travel counselors, and I was saying to her, what are some of your best practices? What do you do when you're booking travel with customers? And she said, the first thing I do is I call customers when they get home. I said, okay. She said, I want to know how the experience was, but more importantly, I want to know what they decided for their next vacation. And I think there's some kind of weird thing in our brain that when we come back from a great vacation, we start to placate ourselves with, it's okay to go back to work because I already have another vacation in the works. And that's the insight that she's tapped into. And it helps her to just draw a better experience with her customers because she's part of their life, she's part of their lifestyle, and she's very indigenous to what's going on for the client.
Right, and also gives the opportunity, right, to kind of iterate, what did you like, let's do more of that sort of thing. And
that's right.
You had that story about, a couple that went on a honeymoon and then it kind of trickled down into the rest of their life, right?
That's right. We actually have a travel counselor who, albeit the process is very different now due to technology, but he booked a couple's honeymoon, and now he's booking their children's honeymoons.
Right.
Now, if we were still doing the same business as we were, we would be long out of business. So it's a lot around bringing innovation into the booking process, the relationship management, the CRM platforms, the infrastructure, the product we sell, and the kind of the whole relationship management.
Yeah. I mean, it's really this question. I think, we've all gotten that automated email that said, click here to tell us how your trip was. But this post-touch kind of leads into another inspiration level, right?
It does. I actually think about this a lot when I'm checking out from a hotel. Because you always get a survey when you check out from a hotel. You generally get a survey when you check out from a hotel. And that survey asks you, how was your stay? Did you like your room? Was there anything we could do better? And I always fill out those surveys because the business that I'm in. But I always think they're very past tense focused.
Right.
And if I go back to what our travel counselor said about when you're on vacation, you're thinking about your next vacation, why doesn't that survey say, where do you want to go with us next? What's your next destination? And then we pop that into our CRM system and over time figure out when we think that customer is going to take the vacation. So it's like with those surveys, I often think there's so much more we could do.
Yeah, they've kind of asked you after the fact, and then you never hear anything more.
No, it's over.
Turn it in.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the last touch point. As we run short on time here, I kind of want to just take away a couple points for our audience about, what is today's traveler thinking about and what motivates them, and how can all of us here in the audience kind of better connect with today's traveler?
I think the first thing is like old-fashioned service and the ability to deliver that service, whether you're online, offline, mobile, WeChat, within the chat experience. I think it's the innovations that you talked about, Resi, and bringing those innovations into the purchase cycle. And then finally, it's creating an extended experience for the customer from beginning to end and ideation to right through to when they come home, and making sure that it's a full circle, deep, immersive experience for our customers.
Thanks so much.
It's my pleasure.
Thanks, everyone.